Hello everybody, welcome to the first video in a new game series I'll be starting for the game Flashback on the Sega Genesis. This game will not have a config and tech or modding video as they are not needed for this game. I wanted to make this introduction video for Flashback just to provide some information and talk about it. The gameplay videos for this series will include commentary. The game was developed by Delphine Software International. The company was a French developer and was founded in 1988, now no longer in operation as of 2004. Delphine Software is also known for having published another game called Another World or Out of This World, which is a game of similar design to some degree as Flashback. We will play Another World at some point on this channel. Delphine Software are also known for having developed the game Shaq Fu on the Sega Genesis. Shaq Fu is known to be one of the worst fighting games out there. I haven't actually played it, so I don't have an opinion on it. I'll play it on this channel at some point. Why not? As far as the game, Flashback was released on everything, it seems. So many different versions. My experience is with the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo versions. The Guinness World Records names it as the best-selling French game of all time. The Genesis version is the one I prefer. It was also the first version I played. I like the raw sound of the Genesis sound chip in this game. The Genesis version is also faster, or rather it runs at normal speed. The Super Nintendo may have slightly better graphics and sound depending on your tastes and who you ask. The cutscenes on this version don't run as smoothly, less frame rate and more choppy. Flashback is a story-driven game, so the cutscenes are a big part of telling that story. Even though the Genesis and the Super Nintendo versions came out at the same time, Flashback was actually designed on and for the Sega Genesis a year prior in 1992. The same year it came out for the Amiga, which was the original version. So really the Super Nintendo version is a port of the Genesis version. As we all know, the Genesis and the Super Nintendo are pretty different from each other. The genre this game falls into is a cinematic performer. This is a subgenre of just normal platformers, focusing more on realism, fluid movement, and story-driven aspects. A modern version or example would be games like Limbo or Inside. As far as releases go for this game, in 1992 is when the original Flashback came out on the Amiga console. Then Flashback came out in 1993 on the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo. There's a direct sequel called Fade to Black, which is actually Flashback 2. It was originally released in 1995 on DOS, then came out on 1996 on the PlayStation 1, and then apparently in 2018, somebody who's listed on the Wikipedia as just being one individual, he released it on the Dreamcast, the Sega Dreamcast. I don't know anything about that version. I assume the PlayStation version is slightly better than the DOS, and that's what I've seen a little bit of on YouTube. The Dreamcast, I don't know if it's a port of that or if it's its own thing. And then in 2013, there was a legitimate Flashback remake that came out by a developer studio called Vector Cell, which I've never heard of them. But they released the remake on Xbox 360, PC, and PlayStation 3. And there is a Flashback 2 that is being developed as of this video by the company Microids. I might play Fade to Black on the PlayStation 1 at some point. I've only seen some brief gameplay of it on YouTube. makes me want to go listen to some Metallica right now. The 2013 remake is not that great. I think you might be able to play the 16-bit version in the menu of the remake version, or maybe you can unlock it or something. But if you're going to play Flashback, play it on the Genesis, or playing it on the Super Nintendo is your best choice. Flashback 2 by Microids might be okay when it comes out, as Microids is known for making other cool games. We will play other games on this channel made by Microids. So that concludes this introduction video for Flashback. In the next video we'll be getting into the gameplay. You can expect this game to take about 6 to 8 hours to play. I'm going to try to start incorporating the length of time to play through the game in these introduction videos, as I've generally only been stating them in the first gameplay video of whatever game I'm playing, but it makes a good place to put it in these introduction videos. So thank you for watching this, and we'll see you in the next video where we start the game. Bye.